Good evening. Welcome to the Mind of STEM, where you get your daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. I am your host, Leon Jones, and in this segment of the Mind of STEM, I'm going to talk about malware, how malware works, and how to remove it. Now, I'm doing this video because there are a number of us who have computers, and different viruses enter your computer, and none of us, especially people like me who don't have IT experience, we don't know where to find the virus. So we have to call an IT professional. So you have to ask yourself, what is malware? Well, basically the term malware is a contraction of malicious software. Put simply, it's any piece of software that was written with the intent of damaging devices, stealing data, and generally causing a mess. You see, viruses, trojans, spyware, and ransomware are among the different kinds of malware. Malware is often created by teams of hackers. Usually they're just looking to make money, either by spreading the malware themselves or selling it to the highest bidder on a dark web. However, there could be other reasons for creating malware as well. It could be used as a tool for protest, a way to test security, or even as weapons of war between governments. But no matter why or how malware comes to be, it is always bad news when it winds up on your PC or your tablet or Android or iPhone device. Fortunately, that's what I want to talk about. How to prevent malware. Now, first you have to ask yourself, what does malware do? We'll say all kinds of things because it's a broad category. And what malware does, or how malware makes changes from file to file. The following I'm going to give you, I have a list of types of malware, but it's hardly exhaustive. Now, first, there's a virus. Like their biological namesakes, viruses attach themselves to clean files and they infect other clean files. They can spread uncontrollably by damaging a system's core functionality and deleting corrupt files. They usually appear as an executable file, and an executable file at the end of it has .exe. That's what an executional file has, or an executionable file. Look for that .exe at the end. And when that happens, you have a corrupt file, and that's part of the virus. Now there's another virus called Trojans. Now this kind of malware disguises itself from legitimate software, or as hidden in legitimate software that has been tampered with. Now it tends to act discreetly and creates backdoors in your security to let other malware in. Now you also have spyware. It's not a surprise. Spyware is malware. It is basically used by its name. It's used to spy on you. It hides background and it takes notes on what you do online. And what you do online could include your passwords, credit card numbers, surfing habits, and even more. Now, there are also worms. Worms basically infect entire networks of devices, even local or across the internet, by using network interfaces. It uses each consecutively infected machine to affect others. It's like a cancer. So if you have a machine affected here, it's going to be used to affect all the other machines in the network. Then there's ransomware. This type of malware typically locks down your computer and your files, and it threatens to erase everything unless you pay a ransom. It's known as ransomware. The name ransom applies. If you want to keep all your files, then you must pay a ransom. In other words, this type of malware basically wants to shut everything you have down. And I'm talking about your files, because again, it locks them down. And then it threatens to erase everything until you pay a ransom. That's why they call that ransomware. Now, there's another one called adware. Though not always malicious in nature, aggressive advertising software can undermine your security just to serve you ads, which can give other malware an easy way in. Plus, let's face it, pop-ups are very annoying. And if you have a computer, this is where you see all the ads. In fact, all these ads come up based on where you are looking online or surfing. Let me give you an example. I go to a lot of college sites, so I see a lot of pop-up ads from different colleges because I like the college sites. And what's happening is you have other types of malware, and it could be spyware. It's actually tracking everything you do online. You see, when you have malware, other types of malware can be connected. Combination. That's why you have to watch what you are looking at on your computer. Now you have another one called botnets, and they're basically networks of infected computers that are made to work together under the control of an attacker. Now, with all of the malware mentioned, you have virus, trojans, spyware, worms, ransomware, adware, botnets. You have to ask yourself, how do you protect against malware? Well, when it comes to malware, prevention is better than a cure. Fortunately, there are common sense, easy behaviors that minimize your chances of running into nasty software. First of all, don't trust strangers online. Social engineering, which can include strange emails, abrupt alerts, fake profiles, and curiously tickling offers, are the #1 method of delivering malware. If you don't know exactly what it is, don't click on it. Number 2, double check your downloads. From pirated sites to official storefronts, malware is often lurking around the corner. So before downloading, always double check that the provider is trustworthy by carefully reading reviews and comments. Again, double check your downloads. And again, don't trust strangers online. So when you go to downloading, make sure the provider is trustworthy. You have to double check that. And you read reviews and comments. Also get an ad blocker. Malvertising, where hackers use infected banners or pop-up ads to infect your device. That is on the rise. So you can't know which ads are bad, so it is safer just to block them all with a reliable ad blocker. This is common sense. Just mention it. Be careful where you browse, because malware can be found just about anywhere, but it's most common in websites with poor back-end security, like small local websites. If you stick to large, reputable sites, you're severely reducing your chance of encountering malware, or we could say your risk of encountering malware. But let me tell you this, even if you follow the suggestions that I gave you, you can still get infected with malware, because hackers will always find a way to sneak their viruses in every corner on the web. So for real security, you need to combine healthy online habits with powerful and reliable anti-malware software like AVG antivirus, and it's free. And what that does, it detects and stops malware before it infects your PC, Mac, or mobile device. Now, with all that, how do you detect malware? Well, certain strains of malware are easier to detect than others. Some, like ransomware and adware, make their presence known immediately, either by encrypting your files or by streaming endless ads at you. Others, like Trojans and spyware, go out of their way to hide from you as long as possible, meaning that they could be on your system for a long time before you realize that they are present. And then there are others, like viruses and worms, that might operate in secret for a time before the symptoms of their infection start to appear, such as freezing, deleted, and replaced files, sudden shutdowns, or a hyperactive processor. So the only surefire way to detect all malware before it infects your PC, Mac, or mobile is to install an anti-malware software, which will come packaged with detection tools and scans that can catch malware currently on your device, as well as block the malware that's trying to affect your system. Now, with that being said, what if you still have malware? How do you remove it? Because each form of malware has its own way of infecting and damaging your computer and data, and so each one requires a different malware removal method. Now, to get started, you have to check out tips for getting rid of viruses and malware. Now, the best way to stay protected or remove an infection is to use, again, anti-malware software, more commonly called an antivirus. Now, the best malware removing tools are included in the most advanced antivirus, and even the free ones like AVG Antivirus Free have all you need to stay safe from the most common threats of malware. Now, what I gave you is information on the PC, but what about on the Android? Because PCs aren't the only devices that get malware. Your cell phone, which could be an iOS, which is your iPhone or Apple, and your Android phone. Well, any device that is connected to the internet is at risk, and that includes your Android phone. While you might not hear about them as much, Android attacks are on the rise, with phishing websites, fake apps, and unofficial app stores being the main distributors of dangerous software. So Android malware, much like PC malware, can do any number of things and cause all kinds of damage. There are viruses, ransomware, botnets, and Trojan spyware, and more. Just what you expect in the era of smart devices. Fortunately, if a device can be attacked, it can also be secured, and Android phones are no exception. Again, you download a free Android antivirus like AVG Antivirus for Android to make sure that your phone is protected against anything and everything that might threaten it online. Now, I just gave you Android. What about Mac? The same thing, because Macs have the best reputation of being virus proof. And while that was never true, it was true that for a long time that the amount of malware that could affect the Mac was basically small. But while the number of threats for Mac are still small when compared to the enormous malware library and attacks on PCs, it's no longer small enough to ignore, because there's a very real threat. Your Mac could become affected if you're not careful and if it's not secured with a powerful, trustworthy antivirus. And that's why you can get a free download of AVG Antivirus for Mac. Now, I'm not trying to plug in antivirus, but it is free. And I'm talking about the AVG Antivirus, because a number of these other packages like Norton and even Avast you have to pay. Now, Avast is really good. I have an app on my phone called Lookout. That's pretty good as well. So when you have to deal with malware, first, understand the types of malware. And if you don't know how to remove it, call an IT professional, because what can happen when you deal with malware, malware can spread all over a network. It can damage your files, can damage your PC, can damage all of the devices. So if you don't know what you're doing, get somebody like the Geek Squad or an IT professional, because that's what they're paid to do. Because the last thing you want is for your computer not to function properly. And that's this commentary of malware here on The Mind of STEM. I thank you all for listening. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll be doing more videos on this channel. You can also check out my other channel, the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show, and you can check out my Blog Talk Radio. That's also the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show. I do Blog Talk Radio every Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays. I want you all to like my videos on both channels. There's no Patreon, and what I do here on all of my YouTube channels is educate. And remember, knowledge is power. Again, I want to thank you again for listening to this edition. And I talked about malware, and you're on the channel The Mind of STEM, your daily dose for science, technology, engineering, and math. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. You have a wonderful and blessed night, and God bless you.